Καλησπέρα. Θα είμαστε σύντομοι, γιατί αυτό που θέλουμε σήμερα περισσότερο είναι να συζητήσουμε μαζί σας. Ονομάζομαι Γρηγόρης Τσακνάκης. Έφτιαξα τη mousegraphics πριν από 25 περίπου χρόνια και σήμερα το γραφείο αποτελείται από 11 άτομα και ασχολείται κυρίως με το packaging design. Κοιτάξτε πώς έχει το πράγμα. Ένας Ολλανδός, ο Τζόσουα, θα μας παρουσιάσει ένα project που έγινε για μια εταιρεία κινέζικη από ένα γραφείο στην Ελλάδα, στα Μελίσια, ένα project που συμμετείχε και ο ίδιος, για ένα προϊόν που είναι παραδοσιακά ιαπωνέζικο. Η παρουσίαση θα γίνει στα αγγλικά και εγώ δεν ξέρω αγγλικά. Ήδη σας έδωσα το 90% της πληροφορίας που θα ήθελα να μεταδώσουμε εδώ σήμερα. Ο Τζόσα θα συνεχίσει την παρουσίαση.
Κυρία και κυριές, συγγνώμη. Τρία χρόνια είμαι εδώ στην Ελλάδα, αλλά η γλώσσα σας είναι τόσο δύσκολη. Βλέπετε. I switch immediately back to English, this very comfortable language, my broken English, let's say. Yes, I am here for 3 years in Greece. Just a small note about me. I had to escape my country. You might know that Holland has a quite famous history in graphic design, and for small trees it's difficult to grow under big trees. However, let's go to China, swifting cultures, crossing borders, and etc. He who knows does not speak. He who speaks does not know. In this case, it's you who know, and me, I don't know. This is the basic point of the presentation. Lao Tse was something like Socrates in China. Just to give a small note about the Chinese very complex and deep culture. Let's go to the next. Made for China. As you heard, we have done quite big project for a big client, for a big country. Everything big. Made for China, design process. First of all, I want to start with the cultural context. As you see here, two Chinese characters. These Chinese characters means actually China, or literally, they mean central stage. The first character, as you can understand with a little bit of graphic understanding, means center. It's a space which is divided in two. The second character is a bit more difficult to understand, meaning nation, country, or state. I'm gonna go on with the second character a little bit further. It's a composed character, like a lot of Chinese characters are composed by several characters. Well, actually, it's composed by a frame and by the second character, which means yada, or precious stone, representing often the emperor. This character, we can understand it this way. It's something precious that is unframed, meaning nation state. So it gives a little bit of perspective about this graphic representation of things. Personally, I think that graphic design always has a big relation with language, and language is maybe the most complicated and deep-rooted essence of shape, or something like that. Anyway, characters, some numbers. A very famous dictionary has about 85,000 characters. Composes 85,000 characters. A well-educated Chinese possess in his memory about 4,000 to 6,000 characters. Workers can do it with 2,000 characters. Just to know, this is you know, like even a simple Chinese is far above our intelligence, let's say. You know, with our 24 characters, we are like, you know, lazy boys. Anyway, I want to actually give you small lessons of Chinese. I hope I can succeed in this small time frame. But I think it's quite simple, especially when you have a small tendency to look to shapes and be somehow graphic, let's say. This symbol means person, people, or humanity, or someone else. And I think it's quite easy to understand. It's a human being. It's like a child would draw it like this. However, going from this character to another character is this character. It means big, great, or large, which is actually quite simple to understand. It's a human being who describes something very large. Another character, which is related to this character as well, is this one. It's something very large, but it's even above large. So it's God, or heaven, or they. It's all very understandable. You see, you will speak Chinese when you go out of this room. Something small, it's easy, it's peanuts. You see a human being, you know, drawing down, his arms down, etc. And now you understand perfectly Chinese, you can read these characters. The first character, the middle, center, states, and people. So the Chinese people or a Chinese person. However, let's go to the project, because it's the main core. China calling. The EU exports to China are growing faster than its imports. This is a European Commission who stated this information. Here we see an image of red China, of course, communists. I have also my red jacket, and I'm also very happy that Fakinos has a red shirt on today. It's all very red. Anyway, the image of Shanghai, a symbol of the fast-growing economy, etc. You know everything about it. The new world power is coming. China. We were approached by China, and I think China will import the more and more things from Europe, which actually is confirmed by this expression, but also taste, let's say design. I think design is a big export good, as we can call it like this, for Europe. This was the first picture I took. We went actually together with Greg and Olympia to China to meet the client and to make a sort of field research, let's say. Arrival, this was the first picture I took. Now you read Chinese fluently, so you understand what, you know. However, the second picture, also a very understandable sign, I think, universal, stop. Some typical landscapes, you know, misty, very poetic, in my sense. Also very typical. This energy, where we find the energy. More traditional image, let's say, traditional landscape. And now we are close to the factories of our client. This is, we are standing actually at the border of the factory and regarding a river which is crossing next to the factory. A very pleasant landscape. From this picture, we go to this picture, which is actually a logotype, which is designed by Pearl Fisher, which was a company is based in London and in New York, I think. Quite a big branding company, you might know, which have designed things for Nongfu Spring, which is the name of our client. And this is the main core of products. Huh? Okay. The main core of products for of our client, water. So our client is the biggest water company in China, something like Coca-Cola, actually. This is a small image to emulate Greg a little bit. If I have the occasion, I'm, you know, like.
Αν μετά θέλετε το τηλέφωνο μου.
we were dressed up, in completely hygienic, costumes, condoms on our head, and etc. It was very, very nice experience. We went into the fabrics, amazing stuff, like huge masses, massive. However, first of all, before we go on with the design project and stuff, the things where we come from here, I want to insist a little bit on cultural background and stuff like that. I'm maybe, sorry to bore you with that, but a revolution is not a dinner party. Chairman Mao Zedong, you might remember him, saw something, face of him, maybe, perhaps. Anyway, this is a wall photographed nowadays with, I think formerly, some years ago, it was shiny red and, nice typography with one of those expressions, quotes from the chairman. Speaking about the chairman, speaking about the history, this was a typical, I think, situation back in the days. Like, this was a Chinese classic family. The worker, the Mao Zedong portrait, food on table and stuff. But in these times it was, I think, quite difficult. To read many books is harmful. Well, here you see actually an intellectual who get humiliated and in a quite harmful situation, I think. On the right side, books were burned, many cultural objects. The Cultural Revolution, you might have some knowledge about that. Anyway, it's good to remind this to understand maybe the background of this country. But not all cultural objects were eliminated. This was one of the cultural objects who was reproduced, and actually the face of Mao Zedong is one of the most reproduced faces in the world, and especially in China. A beautiful example for branding, for image, for charisma, for anything, for graphic designers. I think it's an object that we should study. Masses. This is the other thing. China is massive, and I like this expression very much of the chairman Mao Zedong. The masses are the real heroes, while we ourselves are often childish and ignorant. I find myself very much in this childish and ignorant. And indeed, masses, you are a mass. You're something for me I cannot understand. It's like a boundary of knowledge and something, a movement. You could just come over me or whatever. Like you're much stronger than me. Oh, I have the word now at the very moment. But anyway. Let's go on to the project. First of all, about masses, because our client produces mass goods, and we design mass goods. We design for masses anyway. The chairman, he was pop. He was completely pop, and someone who understood that, it was, of course, Andy Warhol was fascinated by his face. Andy Warhol. From Andy Warhol to Confucius, another philosopher from something like Plato or something, but then in China. A superior man understands what's right, the inferior understands what will sell. I think nowadays it's the other way around. It's the superior man who knows what sells, isn't it? However, going to the brief, designed for the masses, the brief. The brief was a matcha milk tea beverage and a black tea milk beverage. We have them here in front of us. They're actually at the very moment launched in China. It's all very exciting. And if you want to touch them, you can come. Oh, maybe you pass them in the public. You can touch them and see that it's real. It's not just a mock-up or something. There is no drink inside. Sorry for that, but. However, they wanted a packaging design for these two drinks, a bottle containing 300 to 330 milliliter, modern, young, premium, using authentic and traditional debauches to achieve modernness. Very complex, very simple, perhaps, I don't know. This is a typical classic situation of a Chinese, a Japanese tea ceremony, because the Japanese have taken the culture from the Chinese and have developed it in another way and became in a certain way superior to the Chinese. Well, anyway, it is a very complicated relation and brothership, whatever. I'm very ignorant, of course. I know only nothing about it. Anyway, an image to give a feeling of this very traditional product, which is there's a special, this almost spiritual ceremony to, well, you know something about it, I think. These are typical tools which are used to produce, voila, this is perfect. the man who cares about the details. This is the tea whisk, which is used to make the matcha milk tea. Industrial design, I see I make an error here. It's in this, I'm analphabetic designer, you know. The bottle, content versus container, this is a big story. I have no time to shaping the liquid. Mixing shapes, two ways of drinking milk and drinking tea. Mixing it together, you get this bottle. This, by the way, is designed in collaboration with the industrial designer. His name will be mentioned on the end of the presentation.
Ο Νίκος ο Καστανάκης.
Yeah. Anyway, he did this work. Form follows flavor. The drink itself indicates a shape. Would be something like this, perhaps, or something like this. A third proposition, the tea whisk, which was actually a quite clever one somehow. The tea whisk. Form metaphor, the tea whisk become a bottle if you turn it around. Well, from these very interesting bottle shapes, we go to branding. It's our part to dirty the surface, let's say. You have this white, nice surface, and then you have to do something. You have to brand it. Branding, it's interesting. I was watching recently a Western, and they were like branding cows, you know. I was thinking that's our job, you know, somehow. Branding cows. It's like burn to stigmatize property. However, branding, it sounds great, but yeah, it's quite aggressive somehow. Branding, first surface was something like this, traditional elements, these fantastic drawings from the Shanghai school. Well, you're familiar perhaps with it. Some simple typography. So the two drinks, matcha and the black tea. As a couple, let's say, using these interesting drawings as something that could decorate the bottle, like a reference to their culture or something. But it was very negative. No history, please. We want to go forward. We want to forget about the past. It was a very clear message from our client. And perhaps also they don't want any aesthetics that are related to the Chinese culture. Unfortunately for us, but okay, we have European culture, huh? Well, some futuristic propositions, and go faster through it. We could even use the symbols of cities, maybe to associate them with drinking the city. I don't know, whatever. Other things like the delicious details, the drinking, the drinking experience. Some other graphics, details, and etc. This is a bit provocative, perhaps. I don't know. It might think of a lot of other things. This is actually is quite close to the final. I think the bottle is going around. You see, that looks quite close to our final destination. Let's say. In the first time, we thought it as two different bottles, two different shapes, which could actually be associated with a specific drink. From this on, we went searching more details, etc., colors, black, white, etc. And then we came on this final final selection, dualistic unity, which is, I think, very much close also to the Eastern way of seeing reality, that good and bad exist together and create one unity, etc. Yeah, this is quite close to a final result, not completely. First of all, I want to say something about the logotype, and I would use an expression from Lu Xun, which was actually the famous, the favorite writer of Mao Zedong. He wrote a lot of books of him, and he said, if Chinese characters are not destroyed, then China will die. I think with this proposition, which actually I will explain you, the Chinese character means tea, and actually, there was a evrika, as we say in Greek, that in this Chinese character, T, there is a Latin T hidden. So you could also describe it as if you like it or not, but it's a meeting between East and West or something like that. But I think we succeeded somehow to destroy at least one Chinese character. So, you know, we are in a good way. Some researchers, I think it's very peculiar for our office. We have a special person who's only doing this. Is like working on details, shaping, reshaping, and looking for, you know, like a very small leptomerius, as we say, and etc. These are some examples, but we had many more of them. Well, here is the final result, the final two bottles. The perfect unity, the perfect couple. The machine who produces these bottles produces about 54,000 bottles an hour. That means that in order to produce for 35 billion people, which is the amount of people in China, we need 2,500 hours and 105 days of full production to ensure that everyone in China has one of those bottles. And, you know, we're thinking masters, and we hope that, you know, it's only 105 days. I think we will come there. Some boxes to send them in the world. They are here, actually. And they're much more beautiful in reality, of course. Interesting about the boxes is that we had limited technical, for carton it's only used flexo, so we had to reduce the images, the iconography of the bottle, and it came up more graphic. Interesting. Another thing is the advertisement concept one. They asked us to design advertisement in the same concept. They want our aesthetic, let's say, to be continued. Our first concept could be described as fashion or fashionable, whatever. It was something like this: faces, looks, you know, like enigmatic. You know, just the bottles, a small typography. Something like this, strange figures wandering about around the bottle, let's say. Yes, some second concept would be called luxury, for example. The bottle, the concept related to the whisk, let's say, the object itself becomes the visual, let's say. There is no entertainment. It's the bottle who does all the work, all the talking. Some variations on this theme. And a third concept designed by our own personal Cretan designer, Kostas Kaparos. A lot of stories hidden in the drink, an application. And the final advertisement campaign was actually a mix. They liked all of them. They said, oh, we want all of them, whatever. This is for kids, and this is for, they had many ideas about that. Anyway, for the moment, this is the poster which is used actually at the very moment to launch the drinks. And secondly, it will be followed up. This is a stand, how the products will be presented in several places. We had also smaller ones and stuff. This is an example of that. We did a continuation of objects which were related to the bottle. And these were the final advertisements which came out. Fashion, what can I say? The bottle is an object of love. You know, it could be, you know, it could be the red book for Mao, you know. I mean, actually we wanted to go so far that this object should be something like this, you know. It should be this book that, I don't think that we will come there, you know, as strong as Mao was. But I think in any case, it's the aim of every designer to be a little bit like, to think in this way, you know, to look at this kind of huge movements which use design in a certain way. This was very inspiring, let's say. Yeah, with this image I would like you to leave you alone with Greg, and he will do the talking further on, maybe the questions. So thank you very much for your eyes.
Να προσθέσω λίγο κάτι. Τα μοντέλα ήρθαν από την Ευρώπη και φωτογραφήθηκαν από τον Τάσο Βρετό, που είναι φωτογράφος μόδας. Ήθελα να τελειώσω με αυτό. Η συνεργασία με τους Κινέζους ήταν άψογη, εξαιρετική σε όλα τα επίπεδα. Και αυτό που ήθελα να πω είναι ότι αφού συνέβη σε εμάς, μπορεί να συμβεί σε όλους μας.